Hello, Internet. Reconsider Simon here. So, the inner child, what is it? How do you heal it? As an adult, you can sometimes experience repeated negative situations or patterns that seem to occur. And it could be down to a multitude of reasons. And it's important to kind of go through a checklist of things before you come to the conclusion it might be something to do with your inner child. It could be a past life or parallel life situation, which maybe needs to be cleared. It could also be something external to you. So it could be like negative energies or negative entities. So that would also need to be cleared as well. But it could be something that happened to you in your childhood years, as a child, which kind of slightly traumatized you, which is now reverberating out into adulthood, which is why you keep experiencing like a negative situation. Now, because I have a few subscribers now, budgets at Reconsider Simon have gone up extensively, just to prove my point scientifically through the use of visualized illustration. Um, as you can see, this is a child crying. It says happy on his vest, but he's not happy. He's crying. He's in pain. Something bad has happened to him. And he grows into this, a seemingly happy adult. He's looking quite sharp. He's wearing a suit. Maybe he's doing well in life. Got a good job. Nice girlfriend. Maybe married. He looks happy, but is he really happy? He might be like this, man-child. You see, he has that traumatized inner child within him that he's carrying around all the time. And this is what we need to solve. So he can fully embody this. So I think that proves my point on the inner child. So in all seriousness, what can happen to your inner child? Children are essentially very open individuals. They're very playful, very curious. That can make them quite fragile and kind of vulnerable as well because they're so open. So if something happens, like a situation, like a negative situation, and maybe harsh words is being told to them by an adult, this can cause slight trauma with them, within the subconscious, which again can reflect into adult life. And what's interesting, if you've experienced some form of trauma as a child, can be quite large or it can be quite small, but can affect you, obviously within adult life. It can be quite complex in the way things interlink. So you can kind of think it stems from something particular, but then actually through exploration, you realize actually it's kind of related to something that's completely different. So there's a bit of work that needs to be done in terms of like uncovering, unpicking what that issue is. Because the universe is constantly feeding back at you, it can, mirror some of the traumas you'd experience as a child. And it's mirroring it to you so you know what to heal, essentially. And as an example, maybe you feel in a romantic relationship with your girlfriend or boyfriend or whoever, you felt like you're not being listened to. It could also happen within friendships as well, or maybe even work colleagues. Maybe if it happens every now and again, maybe it's just the other person's just generally being a little bit rude. But if it keeps on happening, maybe it's a good idea to start kind of exploring that and sort of seeing why you keep having these repeated situations with that happening to you. When I start the process of exploring an issue with the inner child, I would journal it down. That's the start point for me. And I have a particular book that I write these things down in. Some people might prefer to maybe write on their phone or use a computer, but I think you're missing a connection between the words. I think it's quite powerful actually using kind of manual like pen and paper. So I would recommend that definitely. And through the act of writing, like I mentioned before, sometimes these problems can be quite complex and just you kind of start writing the issue down and then you start to find interlinking points with other problems. And so you kind of start in a certain position and then you can realize you're actually 2 miles away from where you started. So through that act of writing, it kind of really starts to unpick and unravel everything as well. And, writing is really powerful. That is a healing technique in itself. Through the power of words, through the power of writing, you're already starting to release it. You're already starting to heal. Once you think you've explored it, like within your journey, and you've come to a conclusion what the issue is and what it might relate to, the next step would be to kind of heal it through like meditation in a way. And then all you're doing is getting yourself into a calm, relaxed state. However you do that, just follow your breath for a few minutes. Um, and then it's just quite simple. You're just asking yourself the question. So the example that I mentioned earlier was about, you feel you're not being listened to. And then all you need to do is to ask yourself, once you're in a calm state with your eyes closed, just you can either say it out loud or just say it within your mind. Just ask yourself, when is the earliest memory of me not being listened to? And then what will happen, hopefully, is that you'll either, get a few words telling you specifically what happened, or maybe you'll have a visualization within your mind flicker up as well, which kind of pinpointing the earliest memory you had. And it's important just to kind of latch on to that very initial kind of thought or visualization. Don't kind of overthink it. Don't kind of like look at it too much, because the mind can start to distort and twist it. So it's important to take that initial kind of knee-jerk reaction to your question. With the answer that the subconscious gave you, you can now take it to the next step. And it can be something quite simple, like it doesn't have to be something like overly dramatic. In this instance, we're talking about you're not being listened to, and maybe there was a period of time when you're younger where your mum or dad were hyper stressed due to factors at work or maybe within their marriage or relationship, and that's why they weren't really listening to you. So it can be quite a small thing, but obviously it can be something quite sort of serious as well at the same time. Now you can step forward and actually heal this problem as well. So all you have to do again is to sort of close your eyes, get yourself into a calm state again. Then you just need to visualize yourself, at that age when this kind of situation happened. And then also visualize yourself now, in the present moment as an adult, approaching yourself as this child self and just giving loving, reassuring words. So saying things like, you are valid, people want to hear you. It's just your mum and dad were stressed. That's why they didn't listen to you. So you're being very, very loving. And once you feel that's enough, you've said as much as you can. And then just give your child self like a really big hug as well, just a loving hug, and just visualize yourself doing that. And then an aspect that I've added on myself, there's a Hawaiian healing technique called Ho'oponopono, which is a very sort of easy mantra. It's like, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And I would say that to my child self like maybe 6 times as well. That mantra is useful in a whole host of other situations in terms of like problems of individuals in life or things that have happened that have angered you. You can use that same mantra as well, just to kind of dispel the energy. But I found it quite useful at the end of the inner child healing process as well. So that's when I've kind of added in. There you have it. It's relatively simple. It's not overly complicated. In terms of like timelines of like how long does it take to help to heal? Yeah, maybe it would be dramatic. Maybe it would like change overnight, or maybe these things take a while to seep through. It could take a few days, weeks, or months. You might feel called to redo the process again. And then if you feel it's still not landing, maybe you need to explore it more. Maybe there's another factor involved that you need to look at as well. Just to recap on the whole process, so you're experiencing a particular repeated negative pattern or situation. You're just writing it down, you're exploring it through word magic, you're coming to conclusion through, writing things down, and then you're asking yourself in a calm state, when's the earliest memory of this happening to me? And then you're healing your child at that particular point through visualization, through giving loving words, the hug and the Ho'oponopono as well. So hopefully that's my own little remix. It's kind of helped me. I probably should do it more than I do. So practice what you preach, Simon. But yeah, this has been the third time I made this video. So hopefully this one works. But thank you so much for joining me. And I hope to catch up with you again soon. Right then, take care. Bye.